Okay, today we're going to be working on a 2005 Nissan Altima. The check engine light came on and the code was a P0302, number 1 cylinder misfire detected. And as far as the suggested parts or what could possibly fix the problem is either the ignition coil and the spark plugs. And so today we're going to replace the ignition coil, and there are 4 of them. This is the 4-cylinder 2005 Nissan Altima. So we'll replace the ignition coils and see if that solves the problem. Now, one thing you can do is switch, if you're wondering what the problem is, you can switch the ignition coils. Take the coil from number 2 cylinder and move it to 1, and then drive it around and see if you get another misfire in the cylinder which you put the supposedly bad coil in. And if you get the same code for cylinder 1, then you know it's the ignition coil that needs to be replaced. You need to take off the cover that has this 2.5 CVTC on it, and to do that you need to use an Allen wrench. And so there are approximately 4 bolts that you need to remove. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've got this neat tool that I can use. It actually has a handle on it, so you just find the right Allen wrench, and then you just go ahead and start removing. So you got 1. Make sure you put the bolts somewhere where you don't lose them. 2. And 3. Number 4. I don't know where you can get this tool, but it's really been quite handy. I've used it on several occasions. Now, once you remove those 4 bolts, you then remove the cover. And here you have the 4 ignition coils. Now you can see I have already replaced that 2, and so I'll just go ahead and demonstrate how you do that. First thing you need to do is remove the, press the clip, and then just pull it out. And then you do that with, I would replace them one at a time, so you don't, it's pretty hard to get the wires mixed up, but see over here you possibly could. So it's good just to replace one at a time and then put the clip back on. Sometimes it's hard to get the clip out, and you might want to try that first before removing the bolt, but sometimes you may have to going to do is remove the bolt. It's a 10mm socket, and so you just quickly remove those, and they're pretty easy. Once you loosen them up, you can just remove them with your hand. And again, you want to put the bolt somewhere where you're not going to lose it. And then you just go ahead and pull this out. Now, you can also, it would be a good thing if you haven't changed your spark plug recently, this would be a good time to do that. Go ahead and just show you how to remove the spark plug. And This is a 5/8 spark plug wrench. But you just get it in there nice and easy. And I found that it's, once you get it loosened up, you can just go ahead and twist it out. Now once you do that, once you get it out, you want to make sure that you gap your spark plugs. And I do believe I mentioned this is a 5/32 socket. And there you have the spark plug. But as I mentioned, I've already replaced the spark plugs. But you just do that. And again, I would recommend that doing this at the same time you replace the ignition coil, because it also states that spark plugs may be causing the misfire. And then again, you make sure you gap it, and you can refer to the owner's manual for the gap on the spark plug. I think it was 4.45 or something like that. Again, just hand tighten it. You always want to hand tighten it. Go as far as you can so you don't cross thread it. Once you get it tight, then you'll go ahead and tighten it up with the socket. Just get it nice and snug, and then again, going back to the ignition coil, it's very simple. You just push it down onto the spark plug. And what happened here is my socket didn't come up with the wrench, so I need to kind of wiggle that around and get that out. Sometimes that will happen. You may have to wiggle it around a little bit to get the socket out. There we go. Now we can go ahead and put the ignition coil in. It just goes on top of the spark plug. Make sure you get it down nice and snug, and it's secure on the spark plug. And then you want to line up the bolt, and then go ahead and put your bolt back on. You just hand tighten it with your fingers, and then go ahead and put your socket wrench back on and finish tightening it up. And then you just go ahead and push the clip back in. Make sure it clips, and there you have it replaced. Now again, I replaced this the second one already. And I should have replaced all four when I did the job. I just replaced the one that was bad, but it's probably a good idea to replace all of the ones. And but anyway, that's how you go about changing the ignition coils, and hopefully that will take the check engine light off. But again, you'll go through and do that with each one of the coils, and hopefully that will solve the problem for error code reads. And it could be any cylinder, P0302, and then it will tell you which cylinder had the misfire. And again, it could be a spark plug. Those are the two recommendations: spark plug or the ignition coil. Okay, and here I go removing the clip. Can you push on the back end and then pull it out, and there you have it. And you'll go ahead and remove the bolt and replace the ignition coil. So good luck. I just bought these ignition coils online, and they seem to work really well. They were very inexpensive I think I only paid $40 to $50 for all 4 of them. If you buy them at the dealership, it's going to be a lot more than that. Or an AutoZone or Pep Boys, you might be able to get it a little bit cheaper. But good luck and have fun. For ignition coils replaced, it's probably a good idea to fire up your car, make sure it seems to be running well. I know there was one time I forgot to connect one of the ignition coils, and of course it ran really bad. And double check your connections, make sure they're all nice and secure and all the bolts are tightened. Again, fire your car up, make sure it seems to be running well. As you can see, I did start the engine up. It does sound really good, so I should be good to go to put the cover back on, and hopefully that takes care of the code. Again, good luck and have fun. Putting the cover back on, just make sure that you line up all the bolt holes, and it should be nice and snug once you get it on. And you can see the bolt holes have been lined up. And then put one bolt in at a time, and don't secure them until you have all 4 bolts put in. Just give it a few turns, get it a little bit secure. Now that we know that it's been lined up and we have 4 bolts inserted, again, you'll get your Allen wrench and then go ahead and get them fairly snug. You want to make sure that they all go in all the way. Now I would assume that if you don't have the ignition coils, you can do that are similar to the ones that I replaced. You can go ahead and replace the wires, the spark plug wires, and the coil, the old-fashioned coil, and that will probably do the same thing. Okay, and there you have it. That should be good to go.